Welcome all and happy Women's History Month. My name is Natalie Madeira Cofield and I am proud to be the Assistant Administrator leading the Office of Women's Business Ownership at the U.S. Small Business Administration. It is an honor and a pleasure to be here with you today to celebrate women who are making big moves in the world of small business during our featured presentation, recognizing the resilience, grit, and tenacity of America's women small business heroes. To kick off today's program, we will first hear remarks from U.S. Representative Christy Houlahan, a fighter for women's rights, and she has a special message for us all.
Hi, everybody. I'd like to start by thanking the SBA for having me here. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Christy Houlahan, and I represent Pennsylvania's 6th District in Congress, where I serve on the Small Business Committee and the Armed Services and Foreign Affairs Committees. Prior to coming to Congress, I, like so many of you, helped build and scale small businesses in my community. After serving in the Air Force, I moved to my community in Pennsylvania, where I became an entrepreneur. And I know firsthand the challenges that many small business workers face. And those challenges have been dramatically exacerbated by the pandemic. And as well, we all know that those challenges are even greater for women. We are all on this call today because we share a core belief that our economy is strongest when women have a seat at the table. In 2021, nearly 40% of all small businesses or franchises are owned by women, which is an increase from 2020. We are making progress towards parity in our economy, but of course there is a very long road ahead of us, and a road that has been made even potentially longer due to the devastating effects of this pandemic. While we are seeing some positive progress on women-owned small businesses, the gender gap in our workforce has widened even more dramatically during the pandemic. Recent projections estimate that employment for women may not be able to recover to pre-pandemic levels until 2024, which is 2 full years after the recovery for men. The female workforce participation has also already dropped to 57%, which is the lowest level since 1989. And in the last month of 2020, the US economy lost a net of 140,000 jobs. All of those jobs were held by women. Even prior to the pandemic, there was a gender gap in the workforce, in both pay and in numbers. But in a single month, all of the jobs are lost to women. All of this data is sobering, to say the least, and it is my hope that this will serve as a point of inflection. We as a nation need to reckon with the disparity and work towards fixing it. And of course, you here in this room know that. You have all worked hard to build small businesses and to provide good paying jobs to people in our community. And as we work towards economic parity, particularly in the small business community, we need to broaden the conversation. We need to talk about accessible and affordable childcare whenever we talk about jobs. 40% of mothers, compared to 27% of fathers, have added 3 or more additional hours of caregiving each day to their schedule. That is 15 more hours a week, the equivalent of a considerable part-time job. For me, this issue is personal, because part of the reason I separated from the Air Force was due to a lack of access of affordable childcare. The on-base childcare had a wait list that was too long, and the private options around me were too expensive on my salary. Parents are forced to make this decision every single day across this country, putting their careers on hold to raise children. And that's ridiculous in 2021. It's ridiculous that we're still having this conversation. Raising a family and having a career shouldn't be antithetical to one another. I've already introduced legislation that would begin to address the lack of childcare for our servicewomen and help secure funding in our American Rescue Plan that will support childcare workers and facilities across this country so that parents, particularly mothers, can get back to work knowing that their child is safe and being enriched. Beyond childcare, we need to talk about paid family and medical leave. During this pandemic, we heard countless stories of Americans who felt sick, but felt like they had no option and they did not have paid sick leave. These programs are as much a jobs issue as they are a healthcare issue. And one of my proudest moments in Congress thus far was passing my bipartisan bill to provide paid leave to all 2 million federal workers. And I will continue to propose those kinds of policy solutions and continue to expand this program. These are the sorts of policies that I will be championing in Congress, economically smart initiatives that help not only get our women back to work and make our small business jobs more accessible to working women. I know how hard all of you have worked, and I want you to know that I am in your corner and many others are as well. Our economy is better because of women like you. Thank you.
Hi everyone, Rep. Sharice Davids here. I'm so glad to be.
Thank you so much for those remarks from Representative Houlahan and her inspiring words. Women from every background, from every corner of the world, are working to build brighter futures for themselves, their daughters, and all Americans. Recently, more women than ever have become business owners, but the pandemic has disproportionately affected women business owners and the overall workforce, particularly mothers and women of color. Despite these challenges, we know that women entrepreneurs are resilient and will continue to move forward. At the Small Business Administration, in partnership with the White House, we are more committed than ever to correcting the system injustices and failed policies that have left women struggling. Why? Because when women succeed, America succeeds. There is no recovery if women are left behind. Now, it is more important than ever that we stand together and ensure every woman has the opportunity to succeed. And now I'm so proud to introduce our keynote speaker, someone who has spent her career fighting for women like us. She's a daughter of entrepreneurs. She's a strong woman. She has blazed her own trails and her own paths. She's also President Biden's pick to lead the U.S. Small Business Administration. Please join me in welcoming our newly confirmed administrator, Isabella Casillas Guzman.
Thanks, Natalie, for that generous introduction. Good afternoon, everyone, and happy Women's History Month. Women-owned small businesses should know that you not only have my commitment to advancing female founders, but that you have the most incredible leader in Natalie Madera-Cofield. Natalie, I'm grateful for your leadership at the SBA's Office of Women's Business Ownership, and so impressed to see your grit and tenacity in this new role. Our commitment to women-owned small businesses is about inclusiveness. And so before we begin further, I'd like to just acknowledge the tragedies we've seen in Atlanta and Boulder and the impact it's had on some of our communities and the nation as a whole. It is a painful time and it's a moment of outrage. And the attacks on the AAPI community are unacceptable. They represent an embodiment of generations of racism and sexism. And an attack on one community is an attack on all of us. And so I stand united with the AAPI community, and I hope we can all find purpose in this pain. My heart really goes out as well to the many families who lost loved ones in Boulder. The hate and violence just needs to stop. I've been in this job now for 1 week, and I just want to say that I am very pleased that one of my first public events is celebrating the strength of women small business owners. In California, where I led on small business and innovative startups, my first meeting was also with the California Network of Women, the Women's Business Centers. So I'm continuing in that trend today. As some of you may know, I am the daughter of a small business owner, as Natalie outlined, and worked with my father in his veterinary hospitals from a young age. And today I wanted to share a little bit more about my mother. Really, she's a teacher, and she instilled in me the importance of finding your voice and using it to help advocate whenever possible. And it's why I'm so passionate about leading the SBA and serving as the voice of small business and women's businesses. So business owners like you enliven our main streets and create the products and services that enrich our lives daily and innovate to solve our world's problems. And collectively, you power our economy. And so that's why it's my pleasure to serve as your voice. And we know women in particular are driving entrepreneurship, outpacing others in terms of new business starts. And rates are especially high for women of color. And we've gone from 1970, when only about 5% of businesses were owned by women, to today at 38% and growing. Women-owned small businesses are all building wealth for their families and communities. And I know many of our small businesses have been suffering during COVID, really through no fault of their own, and especially women with high representation in impacted industries or those faced with juggling childcare and careers. Over 400,000 small businesses have closed and millions more at risk. I know that many of you have experienced revenue drops, increasing debt, shrinking cash flows as a result of COVID and the pandemic. And small businesses need us now more than ever, especially as our economy depends on your success. So we need to build back better to help small businesses reopen, start up, grow, and be more resilient. We want to make sure that the dream of small business ownership and entrepreneurship are accessible to more Americans. As we know, all the great ideas are born all across America, regardless of race, gender, or geography. So help is here. The SBA will continue to play a critical role in bringing businesses back, supporting small businesses to create jobs that drive our economy, and building equity across our portfolio of programs. I recognize that we have a lot of work to do, and I want you to know that my team is working around the clock to deliver the relief our entrepreneurs need. With President Biden and Vice President Harris's leadership, we are delivering with the American Rescue Plan. The $1.9 trillion American Rescue Plan includes $15 billion in additional grants to help the smallest, most severely impacted businesses. That's through the Targeted Economic Injury Disaster Loans, or EIDL. Another $28 billion for a new restaurant grant program, $7.25 billion more for Paycheck Protection Program, or PPP, and $10 billion in state, local, and tribal small business financing programs. So we're working harder than ever and also thinking more creatively than ever and partnering and collaborating so that we can build back better and swiftly and effectively deliver these programs of the American Rescue Plan and more. And just know that the SBA will focus on equity and inclusion throughout the relief programs and beyond to help women entrepreneurs achieve their goal of small business ownership. The SBA provides capital to start and grow, and just as importantly, we support market access, the revenue side of the equation, guiding small businesses to supply chains, government procurement, international markets, and e-commerce. And we can connect small businesses to networks for ongoing assistance, as every small business owner needs a team. So we have a national network, for example, of 133 women's business centers across the country, whose sole mission is to level the playing field for women entrepreneurs like you. So I'm excited to listen today to the incredible women entrepreneurs on our panel and join in a conversation. We have the privilege to hear from 4 amazing women, and I'm sure this is going to be a treat for all of us. These business owners have persevered despite the pandemic, and so hearing their tale of resilience will be insightful, hopefully, to start conversations on how we can better improve our service to you. So Natalie, back to you. Let's get started.
Yes, thank you so much, Administrator, for your vision and for your leadership. So we're going to switch gears and introduce our panel, who will talk about what it's like to run a business in the age of COVID and to explain how the Small Business Administration has impacted them. I'd now like to bring our panelists to the stage. Christy NaMee Erikson, owner of the Kindred Post in Alaska. Sabetha Mumm, owner Dancer Vision, Johnston, Iowa. Rosa Santana, she is the president and CEO of Santana Group in San Antonio, Texas. And Christy Venable, who is the CEO and therapist of Smile Therapy Services, LLC, here in Washington, D.C. Ladies, thank you so much for joining us for our Women's History Month panel. I'd like to just first start by asking if you could briefly share a bit about yourself and your business. Christy, we'll start with you first. Okay, maybe we'll start with Sabetha.
Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you now.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for having me here. My name is Sabetha Mumm. I own and operate Dance Vision in Johnston, Iowa. We are a family-oriented dance studio offering opportunities for every dream through dance. And I'm really grateful to be here for celebrating Women's History Month because everybody has a history, right? So a little bit about the history of Dance Vision. We started in 2003 with the help of a $46,000 SBA small business loan. Fast forward a few years and 4 expansions from 2,400 square feet to 6,000 square feet. We were out of space. And of course, I wanted to stop renting and have a little bit of equity. So with the help of a 504 SBA business loan in 2016, I built a $2 million, 12,600 square foot facility. And instead of being capped out at under 300 students, we were able to pre-pandemic have 500 students in the studio. So I'm really grateful for the programs the SBA has offered to me. It's an incredible resource. I wish that more people would be willing to take a leap of faith and follow their passion to open small businesses. It really, for me, there's no other way to work anymore. I did have day jobs, and I just don't think that I could ever go back to working in an environment other than something where I am truly passionate about what I do. So I'm grateful for the SBA and all of the programs that I've been able to take advantage of. I know later on in the questioning, we'll get to some of the PPP programs that I've also been able to take advantage of. But grateful for all of the SBA programs that are out there and available to small business owners and women business owners as well.
We love to hear it. Wonderful. It sounds like you have certainly taken advantage. Rosa, would you like to share a little bit more about yourself and your business?
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me here today. And it's really a pleasure to be with in the company of all of these amazing women. I am Rosa Santana and the CEO and founder of several companies under the Santana Group. In 2002, we launched my first company, Integrated Human Capital, and simultaneously launched Workforce de Mexico in Mexico. So those 2 companies are staffing businesses. Later on, I started an office and expanded my business into San Antonio and into Austin to do business with a couple of great companies. And one of those great companies is Toyota. After 10 years of providing staffing services to many of Toyota's Tier 1 suppliers, we were asked to become a direct Tier 1 supplier to Toyota to build truck beds. Go figure, we went from providing people to building truck beds. And I became the first Hispanic-owned direct Tier 1 supplier to Toyota. And I'm very, very proud of that accomplishment. Since then, we've expanded into Mexico with Toyota, and we have a plant in Guanajuato, Mexico as well. So then in 2018, we launched a BPO company, Oveana. And Oveana runs a couple of call centers. And guess what? Toyota is my client there as well. And we have other clients as well, but Toyota is also my client. So, you know, I guess if I can share anything with you all, I've spent a lot of time, in fact, my entire life building relationships, you know, with clients, with employees, and really, you know, my work has been all around putting people to work and finding good employment for people and finding great people for employers. So thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to continuing to participate.
Absolutely. And Rosa, I think having repeat clients means that you're doing something right.
I believe that as well. Thank you.
Congratulations to you for that. So we will try Christy Venable. Christy?
Yes. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Hi. Hello, everyone. My name is Christy Venable, and I am the CEO and founder of Smile Therapy Services. And we are a minority-owned and operated mental health therapy agency. We're based in Washington, D.C., and we provide direct mental health therapy in addition to mental health educational workshops and leadership development through a mental health lens. We work with schools, organizations, Fortune 500 companies, and we really focus on communities of color who have the most need. So by trade, I am a licensed professional counselor, and I was the SBA's 2020 Small Business Person of the Year for Washington, D.C. I'm definitely so excited to be here. Thank you so much, SBA, for highlighting the women-owned companies here and just celebrating us in general. So thank you, and look forward to the rest of the panel.
Wonderful, Christy. That made me smile. Congratulations to you. I'm sure that was quite an honor.
Yes, thank you.
Absolutely. And last, we will have Christy Erickson, who is joining us from the furthest distance in Alaska. Christy, if you could share with us more about you and your business as well.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Oh, I think it just went away. It may have just gone away. Let's try that one more time. No. Okay, so Christy, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to go ahead and move to the next set of questions, but as soon as we get, actually, we'll try it right now. There we go. There we go. Okay, Christy, why don't you share with us a little bit more about you and your business?
안녕하세요. My name is Christy Erickson, and I'm zooming in today from Tlingit Ani, also known as Juneau, Alaska. Ganishchish, especially to the Tlinedi and Wishkitan clans of the Akawan, the traditional and rightful owners of the land that I'm sitting on today. I use she, her pronouns, and I am an Asian woman with long brown hair. I'm wearing a black shirt, and I'm in a room with like a bunch of art and Post-its and papers on the wall. I own Kindred Post, and Kindred Post is a post office, gift shop, and gathering space in the heart of our downtown neighborhood. And like all post offices, we want to connect people. And we connect people through mail, we connect people through art, we connect people through shared art experiences. People often ask me, is this a real post office? And I like to say that this is the post office of your dreams. We like to keep art at the center of all of our work because we believe in the power of artists to tell our stories, to bring people together, and to lead positive change in our communities. And with that, our gift shop features over 200 artists from the very emerging to the very established. And our gathering space in the pre-COVID days, we often had art events of all kinds that could bring our neighbors together through shared experiences. So I would not be here today without countless ancestors, known and unknown, teachers, mentors, friends, family, and so many others who have given me the support that I've needed. So I stand on the shoulder of giants, and I'm honored to be here in such good company as the inspiring women that you heard from previously. And I was reflecting on how all of our work really comes back to art, community, and wellness. And I just think what a day in 2021 that these are the values that we're really celebrating the resilience of today in our country. So 감사합니다. Thank you for having me.
Wonderful. That was very, very introspective. Thank you for that, Christy. We appreciate that. And I think it actually sets the tone for our next set of questions, which is that obviously the last year and some change has been very difficult for all of us, right? And we have gone through the impact of COVID in different ways. And as business women, I'd love if you could share more about how the Small Business Administration specifically has aided your organization in surviving this very pivotal moment in time, and any other kind of strategies for survival that you may have incorporated into your companies to get you through this moment. We can start first with Sabetha.
Hello. So when the pandemic hit, obviously a dance studio was one of the first things that needed to close. We are not essential, although we love what we do. We recognize that we were not essential. So we decided to pivot like many other businesses did. we decided to take our services virtually to our clients. And so in 5 days, we set up the technology in all 5 of our studio rooms to take all of our classes, 89 of them, online virtually. Now, that was quite the challenge, but the biggest challenge was in a normal dance class, you have the teacher in the room and you have the students. But when you go to virtual, you need the teacher in the room demonstrating, and then you also need a second instructor swiping through all of the Zoom screens, giving instruction to the kids. Otherwise, they're not really getting instruction. They're not getting anything different than they could just get from a YouTube video. They still need to receive corrections and instruction. So what I had to do was hire double the staff. The only way that that was possible was with the PPP loan. So I applied and was grateful to receive PPP in round 1 and in round 2, which is what kept us open and able to offer our services still to the level that we wanted to offer them, which was individual instruction to all of the students and corrections through all of the dance classes. We were able to do that until we could open up slowly. And when I say slowly, I mean 1 teacher and 8 students per room, and many of our rooms are rocking every night with 50 kids in them. So we would have a class where 8 kids would be in the studio and the other 42 would be online at home, and then we'd rotate through them. They could come in as they wanted to. It was a slow opening, but we're really grateful for the PPP that we were given. Otherwise, I don't know that we could afford to have 2 instructors for 89 classes going. So that really was the lifeline we needed to be able to offer our services. I just wanted to say, I think another thing that's really important for small businesses to do is plan for disasters. You know, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So it's really important that you sit down when times are good, when times are plentiful, and make a list of all the things that could happen. Could you lose power to the building? What would you do if that happened? Could your Wi-Fi go down? What would you do if that happened? If a tornado happened, what would you do? Make a list of your resources, make a list of the people you have available to you, and then come up with plans. And then when bad things happen, as they do, as we've all learned, you've got your resources that you can go to for help.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Rosa, would you like to share a little bit about how SBA programs may have impacted you during this time?
Well, I can talk a little bit about what we did as we pivoted, right? So, you know, one thing that we always do is involve our teams in helping us make the decisions. And those were pretty major decisions that we had to make really, really quickly. I'll give an example of something that we had to move on, and it kind of relates to what was said just earlier. Within about 3 days, we had to take our call center and basically dismantle and put everybody to work from home, right? So we had to take equipment to people's homes and ensure that not only did they have equipment and they had connectivity, but that they had adequate workspace. And so all of that we did within a very, very short period of time, within 3 days. And that was extremely difficult, but we worked diligently, and thank goodness to some of the PPP loan that we received, we were able to, again, increase our talent, right? We also needed to increase the number of talent that we had, because now we have all this other work that we didn't expect to have and that wasn't really planned for, right? So much to what you said, about planning to fail, and, you know, failing, maybe fail to plan to fail. We work always under, you know, plan your work and work your plan, right? So I agree with you and what you said just recently about, you know, you really need to almost anticipate that a lot of this is going to happen. And so I think anticipating and planning your work will definitely keep you from failing, and definitely will help you as an entrepreneur. Thank you.
Thank you, Rosa. And Christy Erickson, would you like to share about any SBA program that has helped you during this time?
Unmuting myself.
There we go.
Thank you for the invitation to speak on this question. I remember being at, you know, a webinar. I went to so many webinars that first month trying to kind of keep up with what was happening in the world of policies and programs and such. And I remember one of the speakers was answering a question that was basically like, what are we going to do about our employees, payroll, etc. And the guy was like, you have two choices. Either one, you choose that you're going to take care of them, or you choose that you're going to take care of yourself and hope that some of these programs can take care of them so that they have a job that they can return to. And I didn't really like either of those options on their own. I wanted to believe that there was a third door where we take care of each other, which is sort of a mantra that we use a lot at Kindred Post, and a value that is really important to us. And so we really gambled a little bit on there being a door three. And when the PPP and the EIDL came out, they really were our door three. And they allowed me to keep my team securely employed and have them feel safe. And because our team was employed, we had the resources, the human resources we needed to really make the investments, the pivots that I'm calling long-term investments that we needed to be able to safely keep working and then continue to have a strong business after the pandemic. And thirdly, I would say that it really gave me, as a business owner, a chance to pause and really take in my surroundings. I think there are some people, business owners, artists who work really well in a crisis. And I am not one of those. No, I think I need a degree of safety and security, so that my nervous system can really calm down. And that's when I think I'm most innovative, most clever, most creative, to be able to shift and really see what we need to do to make it through. And I wanted to mention that part because I really think there's a difference in the PPP, EIDL, and all of these programs in terms of survival. I really don't think that they were just like a lifeline for me. They weren't just about surviving. They really allowed me the security I needed to then be able to be my best self and find a path towards thriving. And I wanted to mention that, especially with some of the elected officials who are listening today, because I think it's a really good opportunity to see the way those so-called lifelines are really investments in our communities, and hope that they'll continue to consider what type of positive change can really arrive for people, businesses, and communities when you offer them financial security and safety.
Wonderful. Thank you for that, Christy. We will close with our next Christy, Christy Venable, and then Administrator, we'd love to have you weigh in on this as well. Christy?
Yes. So, thankful for us, we actually were essential. However, a lot of my therapists were in schools. And so as we know, all of the schools went virtual. And so, when that happened, we also had to move 100% to virtual. And for us, we work with a lot of young people. And so it was a change. It was a change for them. Fortunately for us, we were already doing virtual services. And so we had the platforms in place. So that was a great help. So we were able to pivot very fast. However, it was really working with our families and our families of the younger students to be able to help them to move to now this virtual world, and receiving services, mental health services, which is a little different from other types of services virtually. And so we had a hit. We had a hit, and we were able to secure PPP funds as well as EIDL funds. Mm-hmm. And it really helped us to stay afloat when we needed it the most. And thankfully, we were able to retain all of our employees. We didn't have any layoffs, and so it helped us to just get back to kind of where we needed to be during that time where it was so much happening. So definitely grateful for those funds, but agree with all of the other ladies, definitely plan for it. I'm really glad that we had all of our paperwork already in order. And so when it came to applying to those, for those funds, it was really easy for us because we already had our paperwork in order, and it was a matter of just putting it, uploading it to the system. So definitely thankful.
Christy, you mentioned the EIDL loan program, which is the Economic Injury and Disaster Loan Program for those who may not be aware. And Administrator, I know we recently just had a very exciting announcement about this. I'd also love if you could share, some other things that are coming out of the administration that those who are watching today can be assured about.
Thank you for that, Natalie. I mean, these stories are just incredibly uplifting because it really gets to the essence of what small businesses and entrepreneurs are about, and that drive to support your workforce. And you become a community, you become a family, and I think that's evidenced by your words. And so it gives me great hope, and also reminds me that we need to elevate your stories. And I think it's important that everyone understands, who's really benefiting from, PPP and EIDL, and and it's important that we get it into the hands of businesses like you who truly need it and who can truly make an impact in the community. And we were really pleased to announce just yesterday that under the COVID EIDL program, the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program, that we've more than tripled the maximum amount that small businesses and nonprofits can borrow through the program. And so we're starting to institute it so that by April 6th, you will be able to access up to 24 months of economic injury, which previously the calculation was based on 6 months, and a maximum amount of 500,000. That's what we were able to do immediately in terms of rolling it out, and we'll continue to look at how we can grow it moving forward. So SBA is going to be reaching out to people who have taken out EIDL previously, and as well anybody in the pipeline or for going forward after April 6th will be able to access those larger amounts. And so it's really critical as we've seen the pandemic extend much further beyond what was originally imagined when the program was outlined. So we were glad to make that important change. And I think just across the board, I mean, it's important to stay in touch with your networks and with SBA to track what programs there exist out there. And I was glad that Christy found that third door. So you've got to constantly be on the hunt for that third door and for those opportunities.
Wonderful. And as we kind of talk about the vastness of the Small Business Administration, we've heard today from our panelists talking about the PPP program, the Payroll Protection Program, about the Economic Injury and Disaster Loan Program. But SBA has so many resources for small businesses, women's business centers, small business development centers. We have international trade centers. We have SCORE, the Service Corps of Retired Executives, veterans centers, centers for tribal communities, and through the Office of Capital Access, a myriad of different financing opportunities for small business owners that are not just focused on the moment that we're in right now, which is during the Disaster and Recovery Initiative. I would love if our panelists could share with the viewers and those who are watching any other Small Business Administration resources that you all may have come in contact with or benefited from during COVID or prior to COVID.
I'll go if you like.
Sure.
Okay. So as I mentioned in my history, I started the studio in 2003, and the first thing that I did was go to the SBA website and start researching what am I going to need to start a business. And one of the best resources that was available to me there was a business plan template. So I started looking into, when I go to banks, what are they going to want to see? What are they going to want to know from me? What does a sample business plan look like? And I was able to put together a package that when I walked into banks, I didn't have a problem getting financing because I had done all of the research through the SBA's website ahead of time. I knew exactly what they were going to want from me paperwork wise, exactly what they were going to want to see in a business plan. And it really helped me get off in the very beginning on a correct foot and feel really confident that I could do this because of the resources from the SBA website. I also wanted to mention, I think it's really important. I think the pandemic has really shown us what a social community we really are. We are by nature as humans social beings. And so it's really important in these times, not just to lean on the resources that are available to you from the SBA, but I took a lot of solace and comfort in meeting with other small business owners, women through the NABO, women through Success.Dance, which is a dance studio community. But we would just get together on Zoom and virtually a lot because it wasn't smart to do it in person, and just talk about what resources are you finding you need? What problems are you having? What solutions are you having? When you talk about things in a community, you often come up with so many more solutions than you can come up with in your own. So I think not being afraid to say, hey, I can't do this on my own. I need some help, or I need some suggestions, or I could really use some advice or whatever. Not being afraid to ask for input from others. I think as small business owners, we sometimes feel that we need to have all the answers, or we feel alone sometimes or isolated because our employees have no idea what we're going with sometimes, or going through sometimes. But it's really important to rely on others. There's an amazing community within the Women's Resource Centers. I've been to them. There's beautiful people there with so many ideas. Yeah, just lean on your community, whatever community that is.
I love it. And the SBA is a community and has nodes in communities across the country. So that's fantastic. Rosa or Christy would either of you like to share and chime in here?
Yeah, I will definitely say that I took advantage of, even pre-COVID, a lot of SCORE mentor workshops in other different local small business development centers. They have a plethora of educational workshops talking about a range of different topics. And so during COVID, it really helped because they did a lot of training on, how to pivot, kind of, the different rules and regulations that was breaking, what to do with your employees, what not to do as it relates to COVID decisions. And so that was really helpful for me as well. And so I definitely say, look into all of those resources. They have so many different workshops. Many of them are free. And, you can just register and join. And it was helpful for me. And I also shared a lot of that information with small businesses that I knew so that they can take advantage of it as well. So definitely took advantage of a lot of workshops.
Wonderful. Rosa or Christy, we're loving what we're hearing. This is great.
Great. So pre-COVID, I actually did work some with the Women's Business Border Center in El Paso that is affiliated with the El Paso Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. I worked with them initially when I started my first company. And post-COVID, I'm actually working with the MBDA Center here in San Antonio associated with the UTSA. So they may not be program, or this one may not be a program directly of the SBA, but I know that all of us know how to take advantage of those resources, and we're working on some new initiatives with them. So yes, thank you.
Absolutely. Christy, any final comments here?
Sure. I, in answering the question, who helped me, I really feel like it would be a much shorter list to write who didn't help me. I feel like so many resources and people came together pre and during COVID. Our local small business development center, and specifically my small business counselors there, have been incredible resources for me since the beginning. I'm an artist and an organizer. I didn't get into this business because I love to fill out forms. Not a passion of mine, and or following all the policies, but it's definitely a passion of theirs in terms of being able to help business owners be the best that they can. And Ian Grant especially really helped me get going those first days. Like Sabetha said, I got that business template. I have a cash flow spreadsheet he gave me 7 years ago that I still use to this day. It's very regular, like this is not super special or magical, but all the formulas are in it and it works. And to this day, he'll email me to make sure that I know what the latest news is, the latest opportunities for the business, to make sure I'm moving along. So I'd say they were an incredible resource. Like others have mentioned, our small business community in terms of, really spreading the word. So it felt like, those offices would hold a webinar, they would tell 3 people, and then those 3 people would like go get a coffee, and then, running into any other business owner, we replaced "How are you?" with "Did you apply for the PPP?" And it's just so it just kind of continued to normalize programs for sure, and make sure that we were resources for each other. I know I offered to help a couple of people fill out their PPP after I got mine. And I also want to shout out to the many small businesses that we work with that helped us before and certainly during the pandemic. My CPA and my bookkeeper really helped me make financially articulate applications for all of those programs. Shout out to the artists, who many of which art making is their second source of income. And so having a stable source of income, they offered to change from wholesale to consignment, meaning that we would pay them after things sell. And that really helped us with cash flow. And that was a really big shift for us in our business model that could not have been done without the help of those small artists. And so I just really want to underscore how much every small business relies on a network of other small businesses, especially micro businesses like mine. And so for me, I really can't take credit for the resiliency of my business without also shining a light on the resiliency of the small business ecosystem and the community at large that I work in.
Absolutely, Christy, that is fantastic. And this panel has been great. While you were talking, I was thinking about how important, again, it is for people to become more aware of the resources that the Small Business Administration has to offer. We are here to support America's small businesses, and we have centers across the country, programs and initiatives that are designed to aid you and help you grow and to build the networks that you all are talking about. And I find it personally inspiring that you all tapped into that prior to COVID in many instances. And I think it serves as inspiration on what more we can do as an agency, and also what we can do to further promote and market the initiatives that we have. With that being said, I actually would like to just turn it over now to our administrator to provide some closing remarks for our panel, and then I will close our panel out and we will move into some additional closing remarks. So Administrator Guzman.
Thank you so much. Yeah, what's incredible is that you've all honed in on something that we know is really important, and that's that connection to resources. I think there's capital out there are programs out there, but a lot of times, especially when businesses are just starting or when they're evolving, they don't know where to go. And so you're right, building that network and reaching out to others to learn from their experiences is really critical. And President Biden had also talked about navigators, and if any of you have heard him speak about this, where just like you are all doing in your communities, pointing businesses in the right direction, connecting them, introducing them to people. I mean, we need that across America, and we need those local navigators for small businesses. So part of the Biden-Harris administration's American Rescue Plan, they're included in that, there's a program called Community Navigators, and we are in the process of building that under Natalie's leadership and Mark Madrid from our Office of Entrepreneurial Development. But it's really trying to get to that core issue of connecting to resources. You all demonstrated that tenacity to keep on looking and finding, but we know every business needs a team, and we want to make sure that grassroots, hyper-local level, there's information out there for small businesses, especially across the Female Founders Network, because we know that you all are starting businesses at incredible rates and really leading. And so we want to make sure that you're given the tools to succeed, because your success and how much revenues you can build and jobs you can create are really going to power our economy further into the future. So I'm really heartened by all of these incredible stories, and we'll really take them in as far as my work, as inspiration to my work and to my advocacy, and to represent you across across agencies and across the government in this new role that I'm taking on. So thank you for the time that you spent with me today. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Again, Administrator, thank you so much for joining us today. I know each of the panelists was very honored by your presence. Christy, Sabetha, Rosa, and Christy, thank you so much for sharing the stage today with us. And most importantly, thank you for your perseverance and for holding steadfast during this time of COVID and being examples of what female leadership looks like. So thank you so much for all that you continue to do. Before we close out today's program, we're going to transition into a few special remarks from representatives. First, we will hear from U.S. Representative Sharice Davids, followed by U.S. Representative Angie Craig, who will then be followed by Senator Jackie Rosen.
Hi everyone, Rep. Sharice Davids here. I'm so glad to be speaking with you all during Women's History Month. When I ran for Congress in 2018, I was honored to be part of a group of people resetting expectations about who runs for office and who we support as candidates. I was raised by a single mom who served in the Army for 20 years. And I'm a first-generation college student who worked my way from Johnston County Community College to Cornell Law School. I continue to believe that we need a Congress that is more representative and reflective of what our country is actually like. And I ran because I had faith in the people of Kansas to be part of the change that we need. Now I'm proud to be a member of the most diverse group of people ever elected to Congress, filled with powerful women who are already making their stamp on our nation's history. And just this last month, we swore in our first female vice president. But while we've made great progress in increasing representation and equality, we know that we still have a lot of work to do. This pandemic has really shined a light on some of the inequities in our society, including lack of access to paid family and sick leave or affordable childcare. We know that women play a critical role in our economy. And when we support women in the workforce, it's a win for everybody. It's something that I've been proud to champion during my time in Congress. Last year, we passed the Paycheck Fairness Act, a bill to end the gender pay gap and give women the respect of equal pay for equal work. I was also really proud to preside over the House floor as we reauthorized the Violence Against Women Act, which improves critical protections and services for victims of violence and abuse. And I got the chance to introduce my own legislation to support women entrepreneurs by increasing funding and resources for women's business centers. These are just a few of the measures that I've been proud to push for and work on during my time in office. There are so many more things that we need to do. That's why I'm glad to participate in events like this. Happy Women's History Month. I'm looking forward to speaking with you all again soon and seeing you in person.
Hi everyone, I'm Congresswoman Angie Craig and I represent Minnesota's 2nd District in the United States Congress. First off, I'd like to thank everyone who took part in today's event and shared your stories. Thank you so much for your commitment to inspiring and supporting women-owned businesses, for helping to encourage and promote entrepreneurship in our communities, and for working to ensure a strong and equitable economic recovery for every person in this country. As the very first woman to represent Minnesota's 2nd District, I know a thing or two about tearing down barriers and challenging the status quo in society. But long before I ever set foot in Congress, I spent 20 years working my way up in business, eventually rising to lead a workforce of 16,000 employees at St. Jude Medical. One thing I noticed throughout my time in business was the lack of representation that existed in almost every boardroom and board meeting that I ever attended. In the business world, there weren't a lot of women in executive leadership, and certainly not a number of LGBTQ women like me in leadership either. In the private sector, much like the rest of society, it wasn't exactly a level playing field for some members of our community. And that's exactly what events like this today are aimed to change. Events like these mean so much to our communities. By continuing to elevate the voices of women like those you have heard from today, we hope to encourage the folks who haven't yet taken that first step and provide an example of female leaders in business for future generations who are looking for inspiration. Now, don't get me wrong, we have made tremendous strides in recent years. Look at this Congress, the most women in the history of the United States of America. Everyone you heard from today helps to show exactly how far we've come, but we still have a long way to go. We need to build on that momentum and continue fighting for progress. And one way that we do exactly that is by working to support women entrepreneurs in this country and by fighting to protect the women-owned businesses that already do exist as we continue to recover from the COVID-19 pandemic and economic crisis. Thank you for all that you do, and thank you for taking part in this tremendous event. Thank you for supporting women-owned businesses. Have a great rest of your day.
Hi, everyone. I'm Senator Jackie Rosen, and I'm proud to represent the great state of Nevada in the United States Senate. I want to thank the Small Business Administration for hosting this event in recognition of women-owned businesses. I also want to thank the incredible women on today's panel. The past year has been incredibly challenging, and the pandemic has strained businesses across the country. Today, there are more than 12.5 million women-owned businesses in the United States. That's over 40% of businesses in the United States that are owned by women. Yet recent studies have shown that women-owned businesses were hit harder by the pandemic than their male-owned counterparts. I'm optimistic, though, because of legislation like the American Rescue Plan, which will provide much-needed support to small businesses, especially those that are women and minority-owned. Other legislation like the Bipartisan Small Business Child Care Investment Act, which I introduced last Congress, would provide qualified, non-profit child care providers with access to all SBA loans that allow providers to invest in and expand their operations, creating local jobs and giving working families more options for quality child care. And legislation like the Bipartisan EIDL for Small Businesses Act, which I reintroduced this Congress. This would help small businesses impacted by the coronavirus pandemic by removing the caps on EIDL loans and EIDL advance grants so that businesses can keep their doors open and get the financial stability they need to continue on towards recovery. I encourage the women watching this to reach out and take advantage of the resources offered by the Small Business Administration and connect with the other women and minority business owners participating in this event. Your strength, ingenuity, and determination are the reason that women-owned businesses have grown significantly in recent years, and I have no doubt that you will continue to succeed. I know this is a challenging time, but I'm confident that we will overcome this pandemic because when women put their minds together in any industry, there is no new ground we cannot break, and there is no glass ceiling that we cannot shatter. Thank you, and I hope you enjoyed today's event.